been a long time coming, everybody, but Friday Flashback has finally returned. Hey guys, Fred here. Now I know that it's been a while since the last piece of wrestling content was put up on my channel, but with the WWE Network now out in the UK after many months of waiting, I can take advantage of this and catch up with some pay-per-view watching. Knowing that I don't need to lug a DVD collection many miles down here, I can just watch a pay-per-view anytime I want and analyse the crap out of it. It is fantastic, and I hope you all are looking forward to me revisiting some old pay-per-views that I haven't seen since the night they aired, or having me watch one completely blind for the first time, which will give some of you a bit of a kick while also having a go at me for the decisions I make in rating them, and those will all come later down the line. I've got a massive schedule lined up in the coming months. Let's hope they're all good. Now, I will be revisiting my older review style in these videos, where I sum up the match in one big bulk rather than going through the individual rating factors. However, that won't stop me from giving an understanding of what those rating factors are. In fact, those rating factors and the final scores for the matches will appear on the right side of your screen, and I hope that's all good. You can just sit back, but if you want to know what my ratings are, they are on the screen. Now, the first review of this relaunch series, as you could see in the title and the intro, and pretty much anything else you can see on screen right now, was No Mercy 2003, and it was a request given to me from NJ of the British Fist, who I'm sure a lot of you know. Now, it was a request that he originally gave to me around a year ago, and I never got round to recording it, in spite of me watching the event and writing the analysis up for the video, which is surprising for me. Now, to make it up to him, knowing that he'd waited so long for it, I decided that his choice should be the one that goes even before my own in this series to be the first video, so that sounds about fair, doesn't it? Anyway, No Mercy 2003 was held on October the 19th, 2003 in front of 8,500 fans at the First Mariner Arena in Baltimore, Maryland, with Dope's Today is the Day being the theme song. Let's get started with arguably one of the matches of the night as incumbent Cruiserweight champion Tajiri took on Rey Mysterio. Tajiri used Red Mist to win the title off of Rey Mysterio on SmackDown in September and used Black Mist to blind Nydia, Jamie Noble's girlfriend, not too long before the event. Overall, this match was done not only to exercise Mysterio's rematch clause, but to show that Tajiri could win a match without his now banned Mist. Now, when thinking of Cruiserweight action, it's not often that you think of a slow, methodical pace match with a lot of hard-hitting moves and body psychology. This match highlighted that this is definitely going to be the case in the early going, with Mysterio working on Tajiri's legs with a Boston Crab and multiple dragon screws and leg twists. Tajiri initially focuses on Mysterio's back with some stiff kicks before working on his arms by using the post arm twists and Fujiwara armbar to compound the pain. And the fact that both Taz and Cole highlighted that both men need to focus on each other's weak points before the bell even rang was a nice touch as well, showing that both were focused on the action and the match would therefore contain it as a result. Tajiri favoured the knee for the latter half of the match, compounding his own pain. Mysterio didn't sell the damage from the arm often enough to make it consistent though. The crowd didn't find this technical showcase to be very entertaining, and it only came to life once Mysterio gained some aerial offense, hit a diving crossbody to the outside. Multiple near falls followed after a multitude of nice moves, including a tornado DDT, a rebounding moonsault off the top rope, and an interesting set of moves where Mysterio hit a 619 straight off an Irish whip, went for the West Coast pop only to get it countered into a powerbomb. It was exciting stuff as the match grew, building momentum, and those near falls kept on coming. The fans grew behind Mysterio and got really behind him. And even though the pace of the match grew as Mysterio's momentum and offense rose, it would be stopped as soon as Tajiri got any offense, which made the match feel like a stop-start affair throughout. And even if we were getting a lot of hard-hitting entertainment within it, it didn't enable all that was possible. The end of the match, though, was incredibly odd, with two masked fans, quote-unquote, coming out and spoiling Mysterio's pin attempt, distracting the referee long enough for Tajiri to hit a buzzsaw kick to get the win at 11 minutes and 40 seconds. It overall just felt really unnecessary, as this match was building to a great, intense, epic conclusion and got the fans interested, and that ending just ruined the flow of it all. It just ruined the feeling of the match and made it end on a really dull note after all that we had just witnessed building up to it. And while it did make Tajiri look like a good heel after his future henchman Akio and Sakota got revealed, but It just made this match look pointless in the end if all it took was to him to cheat to win rather than fight legitimately. It just didn't work for me. However, this match was a lot better than I expected, with a lot of physicality not usually seen by a cruiserweight match in the WWE, with a lot of momentum shifts that made me unsure of who was going to win. It grew naturally over time, but its ending and a lack of body selling throughout the latter stages made me feel that this match lived up to its potential, but could have been so much better if given more time. Overall, a 2 3/4 match was a good way to kick off the pay-per-view. Let's keep on going. Next up, we have Benoit versus A-Train. Now, A-Train had been hyping for weeks leading up to the show that he could beat Chris Benoit at any time, and that Benoit couldn't beat him in response. However, Benoit beat him twice on SmackDown in the lead up to the pay-per-view. Train's frustration and delusion to prove himself and beat the Wolverine led to this match occurring on the pay-per-view. Now, it's obvious from the outset that this match was in place to build A-Train as a dominant force, and with the heavy amount of offense he gets right from the start, it is a testament to that. A-Train targeted Benoit's neck with a lot of clubbing blows, Irish whips into the turnbuckle, big boots, clotheslines, choking, a lovely rope guillotine, a destructive double underhook shoulder buster, and one of my favourite moves, the Polish hammer, to really deal Benoit with some punishment and get his blood flowing. The commentators highlighted just how much of a toll it would take on Benoit and how hard his recovery would be, with all the bleeding from Benoit's mouth and nose symbolising it well and making A-Train look worthy of the fight. The taunting and trash talking from the ever-confident heel really got the crowd to hate him by the end, even though you could tell from early on that they were stunned at just how physical it was in his attacks. Either that, or they just had no interest whatsoever. They also chanted "shave your back" at the visibly hairy over 300-pounder, which did get a good laugh from me. Momentum-wise, the match was very stop-start as Benoit's offense was limited, making the match feel slow, but with the right amount of fast and physical punishment made up for it immensely. However, everything seemed to be going smoothly in this match. A-Train getting a lot of offense, Benoit fighting back just enough to make the fight seem believable, and then he got a chair involved. Benoit took a nasty, botched military press drop right on the side of his neck, head tilted and all, onto the steel chair. It looked horrible. It felt like it halted the confidence of A-Train quickly and made the match lose its very, very forward-steaming momentum. Benoit then regained composure, shook off his punishment, hit his signature moves, dodged a kick by Train into the steel chair, and made him tap out to the crippler crossface shortly afterwards. Now, it felt ridiculous to me that A-Train dominated so much of this match, put Benoit through hell, only for him to no-sell and come out of it looking like he hadn't even been hit. Now, the pace of the match did pick up after that botch, and it just made it all feel disjointed, and with the overall length at 12 minutes and 44 seconds, showing that this match went on for just a bit too long for what it was, and didn't have the right winner considering what we saw. And you know what, it's rare for me to come out and criticise Chris Benoit when he comes out on top of a match that I actually somewhat enjoyed, but here is an example. Now, overall, this was a good physical match to show what A-Train could do, but it didn't have the desired effect by the match's end, with Benoit's victory coming seemingly out of nowhere and ruining what the match was building up towards. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the sum of its parts beforehand, though, and even with a massive botch, it was a good watch that could have been done in a little less time, so a 2-star rating is deserved. The next match on the card is Zach Gowen versus Matt Hardy. Now, you guys remember Zach Gowen, right? The one-legged wonder who defied the odds to win a WWE contract on SmackDown in the summer. Well, he hadn't been doing too well after that, as the build-up for this match showed. He got brutally destroyed in a match with Brock Lesnar, signed off by the man who beat him at Vengeance, Vince McMahon. He then got brutally assaulted again and thrown down a set of stairs by Lesnar the week before SummerSlam, where he was due to face Matt Hardy, but of course, due to the assault and the injuries, Hardy was declared the winner of the match by forfeit. Hardy was jealous of all the attention that Gowen was getting, and because of his matitude and V1, he believed that the people should be paying attention to him, and in his own words, he wanted to be Zach Gowen. Lord knows, we all wanted to be Zach Gowen, right? Anyway, Gowen had to heal up, try to prove that not only could he shut the jealous Hardy up, but also get his first win since he got his contract back in June. Now, the thing is, this match, there wasn't much to talk about it, really. I mean, Gowen's momentum had long since diminished, and the reaction the crowd gave him was not a very loud one. And not to mention that Hardy got the majority of the offense here. It was a very stop-start affair, as whenever Gowen seemed to be on his way back into the match and get some form of offense, Matt would simply be there to stop him and put him right back in his ballpark. In spite of this, though, I will give Gowen and Hardy some credit by being able to keep the match's pace rather fast, and giving some fun moves in the process considering how much time they were inevitably given, including a rare, according to Taz's infinite wisdom, moonsault by Hardy, along with a top rope throwback and an incredible springboard somersault plunger by Gowen to the outside. And this fast-paced action and Gowen's minimal but hard-hitting offense gave the crowd some way of getting back into him, but it didn't last very long. The match went for around 5.5 minutes, with Gowen hitting his one-legged moonsault for the victory after disposing of Shannon Moore. Now, overall, the match was missing a lot of interaction from the fans to really give Gowen's first win that special feeling and look, as it was way too late for them to really care, and it showed. Even though the moves that stood out of this match looked great, there was a lack of compelling action and it lacked a lot of intensity, which was needed if it was really going to stand out anywhere. And honestly, if it wasn't for Cole and Taz hyping Gowen up, it wouldn't have had that much else to stand on. Even though most of this match wasn't very good, there was enough of it to get it off the bottom of the barrel. Now, a half-star rating may be kind, but in my opinion, it's warranted. Next, we get the worst match of the night when the APA took on the rising tag team of the Basham Brothers. Now, the match was confirmed on Sunday Night Heat after the APA accepted the Basham's challenge. In the preceding SmackDowns, their valet Shaniqua was whacked with a devastating clothesline from hell, as well as Bradshaw being hit in the face with a chair by the brothers, showing that this match was needed to really get the bad blood out of their systems. Now, it was made on the night, and it didn't have much substance to it, and while it did contain some nice double-team suplex moves by the Bashams early on, there was nothing that really made the match feel interesting or intriguing. It came across as very boring with its slow, methodical pace. Normally, that pace would be good if there was enough to keep the crowd interested, however, this did not keep them going at all until Bradshaw got the hot tag 6 minutes into a 9-minute match, off of Farouk playing the face in peril. Now, the Bashams got no reaction throughout, and the APA only really got the crowd going once Bradshaw had cleaned house, including a lovely second rope fall-away slam being the biggest highlight of the match. An unnecessary ref bump followed, allowing Shaniqua to come out with her club, hit Bradshaw over the head with it, and help her client get the win in a match that was way too long, with very little happening for the fans to care. The post-match interview was just uncomfortable to watch, and reminded me just why I liked the Basham's in-ring skills, but really didn't like the gimmick of them being subs to Shaniqua's dominatrix gimmick, as it was just unsettling to watch, especially when she kept highlighting in this interview that her breasts had become permanently bigger after Bradshaw had given her a clothesline from hell, and the swelling had kept going. It was just uncomfortable, especially seeing the Basham's reactions to this news. Ugh! I did not need to hear that, although I will give them props for acting it so well. They were convincing in the process. Now, this match was placeholder filler on the card, and it showed by its lack of content. It didn't have anything interesting throughout, and it just felt like a waste of time. A 0 is deserved for this boring match, and it's a match that I'm not going to remember in a hurry. Now, here's the match that I know a lot of people supposedly bought this event for. The first ever father versus daughter I Quit match between Vince and Stephanie McMahon, with the stipulation being that if Vince lost, he would resign as the chairman of the WWE, while if Stephanie lost, she would resign as SmackDown general manager. Sable was in Vince's corner, and his wife Linda was in their daughter's corner. Now, Vince was disappointed of his daughter, believing that she wasn't doing a good job as SmackDown general manager and not respecting what his influence had taught her by making, in his opinion, questionable decisions, especially surrounding Zach Gowen, Brock Lesnar, and of course Sable. In line with those decisions, Vince wanted to teach her a lesson by striking down the loving face of oppression that was his daughter, instead of firing her by making her understand that his desire to see her succeed was worth more than her standing up for herself. Now, in all honesty, on paper, and the sum of who was involved in this, I never thought this match would amount to anything, really. I mean, it just seemed like McMahon family drama, and that was that. However, I do have to admit I was pleasantly surprised by what this match ended up being. The stipulation made earlier on by Vince as a mercy plea to Linda that Stephanie could win by pinfall as well as submission, it might have looked stupid going in, but it actually played into the increasing quality of this match. It let the little offense that Stephanie had count for a lot, as the crowd went absolutely crazy whenever she nearly got the 3 count on her father. Her shots to the head with the steel pipe really weren't that bad either, adding some extra bite whenever it came into play. The psychology of this match was amplified simply coming from the mouths of Cole and Taz, who frequently highlighted how much of a terrible human being Vince is as he taunted his wife, physically abused his daughter, and did it all with a smile on his face. Another example for me of why I prefer Cole and Taz to even JR and King. I mean, they oversold their emotion to the hill, but it worked. And the crowd, well, they absolutely lost it whenever Linda got into contact with Sable too. And you know, the energy this crowd gave off was electric, and it really made it feel like this meant something to them and that they were 100% invested. Vince's offense was dominant throughout, and to be expected, noting his jacked physique and superior strength. Stephanie sold it all by screaming her lungs out. Now, it may have been a bit too much, but it has to be expected, right? She isn't really that strong, despite being a former women's champion. She hasn't wrestled in a few years after this, and obviously it would show. And I do love Cole's call of, what does McMahon need a pipe for? As he does actually have a point. Why would a man of such physique need a weapon? Oh yeah, he's an evil bastard of a heel, that's why. And for the time this match got at just shy of 10 minutes, even with its slow-burning pace, they fit so much into it, and I have to give WWE some credit there. Linda could see that Stephanie wouldn't quit under any duress, and the booking decision to have her throw the towel in to end it all was a smart move. Too bad we didn't see Stephanie back for many years to even remotely follow this up. Because seriously, I'd love to see Stephanie yell and shout at Linda for that. Now, while the match was lacking in body selling and some more moves would have been necessary to make it all stand out, it was intriguing and surprisingly fun to watch. The drama was apparent and was a match that was once again proving of McMahon family feud selling on pay-per-view. Now, I would have loved it more had it had more substance than Stephanie screaming while the crowd will her on, but for what this match was at base value, it was worth everything as a piece of sports entertainment storytelling. It doesn't beat Shane vs. Vince at WrestleMania 17, but it does get just shy of 3 stars with a 2 3/4 star rating. This match was an unexpected joy, and it was reflected in that. Kurt Angle versus John Cena now, the match which started Cena's main roster career, and in one which here he got his second breakout performance on pay-per-view. Continuing with Cena's self-absorbed belief that he's bigger than he actually is, going many months back, he clashes with Kurt Angle, a true American hero. And while both clash culturally and socially, both have to settle their differences in the ring in this battle of respect. Now, one thing that is immediately apparent is that the crowd are evenly split here, cheering for Angle and Cena equally, which sets up an interesting dynamic. Who the hell am I going to look at as the definitive heel or face here? And it showed early that I still don't know, with Cena getting thrown around by Angle with some nice mat wrestling holds, both time resulting in Angle throwing up some middle fingers and saying, "You have no chance," and his disdain for Cena was just fantastic, and that superiority just showed it all very well. It proved, well, Angle, for the early on part, you are better than Cena. Let's see if you can try and beat that. Angle continued this momentum early on in the match, taking his time in picking Cena down, but being very aggressive in his moves. A dropkick to Cena's shin off the top rope wasn't immediately worked on or sold on by either man, but I did leave a weak spot open if the ankle lock was inevitably in Angle's future. Momentum shifted to Cena upon hitting a lovely apron DDT as he started to aim for Angle's surgically repaired neck with a throwback, a sick-looking leg drop to the back of the head from the second rope, and powerbombs into the corner. Now, as the match wore on, both men traded punches and moves before finisher fests came in of countered and hit FUs and Angle slams, causing multiple near falls that stretched the match out without losing its steady, quick pace. It built anticipation very well, as it was clear to the crowd that they had no idea who would come out on top here. And Cena tried to win the match by using his chain before getting stopped by the referee. Then he just thought to himself, in a good bit of ingenuity, I'm going to use Angle's medals instead. The crowd popped immensely hard for this, thinking that Cena would use a symbol of Angle's success as the ultimate tool for his opponent's own downfall, which is a nice little touch. After another countering finishing session, Angle locked on the ankle lock with a grapevine to get Cena to tap out at 18.5 minutes. It felt a bit long for what was a simple and intense but well-executed grudge match, but the crowd loved it enough to give both men a standing ovation. Now, while this match was interesting to watch with its crowd dynamics combining with its hard-hitting but beautifully executed move pool, there seemed to be something off about it. Now, the match itself, apart from some moments, wasn't getting a lot of reaction, not just from me, but from some sections of the crowd, and it felt a little bit flat. However, both men took the simple respect storyline and turned it into a match that benefited both men going forward. It was too long considering what we actually got within the match and could have been done quicker, but it showed that any future contest that these two would have down the line would have a lot of build on it, while already showing that the crowd would want to see it again. Now, I would say giving this 3 stars is a little bit of a push in the wrong direction, but for me the pluses outweigh the minuses enough to warrant it. Now, with Eddie Guerrero and the Big Show for the US Championship, we have an interesting dilemma here, because would this match be as entertaining as the build-up would have us believe it will be? Now, this is all because of Eddie and Chavo's desire to make Big Show's life the absolute crappiest. Now, if you remember this feud, you will love the pun that I just made, because Eddie and Chavo tortured Big Show in the most disgusting ways over various weeks, giving him diarrhea from a tainted burrito, removing all the toilet paper and kicking the toilet door in as he was stuck doing his business, as well as spraying him with a sewage truck. Ugh. Still one of the most disgusting things I've seen on television, but it's still funny as hell to watch back though. Big Show responded by chokeslamming Eddie on the hood, the windscreen and the roof of his lowrider, injuring Eddie's back and ribs in the process. Now, with that injury in mind, you'd think that this entire match would be dictated by Big Show going out of his way to ensure that back and that rib area was hurt so he could just walk over and win this match with no problem. And you'd be right, because that's exactly what direction this match took, as Eddie walked up the ramp gingerly as to not damage his back, which is foreboding and is a fantastic piece of early onset psychology. Big Show got a lot of physical offense in that pretty much wrote this match's outcome on the wall from the get-go. He worked Eddie's back down by punching it and of course stepping on it, because what else would a giant do? While also taking a turnbuckle pad off and shoving Eddie into it to show that punishment would be dealt. Now, Taz highlighted that the Big Show didn't need to use the turnbuckle, but it needed to be done to weaken the resilient Eddie. It was definitely necessary. Big Show's offense may have been good for storytelling and for psychology in this match, but the crowd didn't care. They didn't like the pace of this match. It was incredibly slow, and it was really boring for them. So much, though, that a boring chant came out. Thanks, Baltimore. Eddie then resorted to his popular but illegal shtick of utilising weapons under the referee's nose after his annihilated by a massive leg drop intended for the wily Guerrero. The referee just got flattened, and it was so fun. Some brass knuckles, a trash can lid, and the US title belt later, and he just couldn't get the job done in spite of this, as a 2 count was all he could get. A chokeslam followed, with Big Show selling his recent weapon-based punishment beautifully, before Eddie voids the cover under the ropes at 2. A second chokeslam follows for Big Show to get the 3 and the title at just under 11.5 minutes. Now, let me say this. Even though this match told a great story of Eddie's injury and Big Show's aggressive dismantling of the US and Tag Champion, it was this match's saving grace. Because it may seem, oh, he targeted it throughout, it must have been quite fun. Honestly though, that was all there really was to it. It took a lot for Eddie to gain momentum in spite of his constant fighting against the Giant, which, combined with the slow pacing of Big Show's offense, put the crowd to sleep before his comeback spurred them into life. And minus one lovely spinebuster by the Big Show towards the end, this match was all story but lacking in actual substance, with it being way too long, considering. Hell, if Eddie had been demolished in only 3 to 5 minutes, it would have done a better job. And overall, this was a match that had way too much time to do something very simple, and I didn't enjoy it one bit, but I still have to give the match credit for doing the story justice. You know what? I will be generous. I'll give it 1.25 star. I am being so generous with that. I'm not sure if it's a 1 star or not. You guys may have to make my mind up, but I'm probably going to go for 1.25. I'm being so generous, but the story is what makes it. If it wasn't for that, we'd be looking at something completely different. It's time for the main event, and it's for the 2nd year in a row at No Mercy. Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship, this time in a biker chain match, whatever that is. 12 months prior, both men fought in a bloody hell in a cell with the then rookie champ asserting his domination. After Taker fought through Big Show, John Cena and A-Train twice in the preceding months following, he came back into the fold at the request of Stephanie McMahon, who wanted to see Lesnar pay for cheating to win a third title in a classic Iron Man match with Kurt Angle in September. The physicality escalated upon the introduction of a very destructive biker chain, leading to the announcement of a match that Undertaker wanted, the first ever biker chain match, or as I call it, the bike chain on a pole match, because that's simply what it was, you cannot deny that. Now, knowing both of the matches that these guys had previously had and many of their encounters, you can expect what I'm expecting. Something aggressive, violent, and intense. And we got that early on as both men traded offense with a slew of power moves and punches to lay each other down. Undertaker worked the shoulder early on, going for an old school, with Lesnar selling it well as Taker worked it. Even though both men got offense, it's often halted by Undertaker coming back strongly against Lesnar, which makes the pace of the match feel slightly off. Lesnar's key attribute for me is his ability to combine power moves with pace to make his matches look incredible on the eye. The problem with Undertaker is that his revival and recapturing of momentum slowed it down and made overall Lesnar's offense look incredibly weak, and Taker's being boring in comparison. And even though the crowd started off loud, they inevitably quietened down as this no DQ match is lacking some violence. And while the aggression is great, it's not enticing the crowd to get fully behind Taker. And of course, the action spills outside the ring, they do liven up a tad. The lights go out as Taker goes for the chain, allowing Lesnar to once again regain momentum. The steel steps come into play, with Lesnar hitting a nice drop toe hold to Taker on the steps. Momentum is then regained after that. The back and forth action is really enticing, with the crowd starting to really get into this after the slow beginning ended up neutering them. Taker hit a sick spike pile driver on the steps on the outside. After having not seen a spike pile driver in quite some time, it did make me wince and jump out of my seat, which is a very good thing. Lesnar tries to stop Taker going for the chain, only to be hit with a lovely triangle choke across the top rope. Commentators and the fans lose it, so do I. The step shots follow as a last ride is counted and both men are down. Taker hits his signature moves, Lesnar countering, allowing momentum to once again change. A Dragon Sleeper is then applied but counted into an F5. No luck for Lesnar on a 2 count. Taker chokeslams Lesnar from the top rope as he then goes for the chain. The crowd are going crazy, only for the FBI, the fully blooded Italians, to enter in and ruin his chances. They're thrown out just as quickly as I forget that they were even feuding with Taker around this time. Taker hits the last ride, hits a suicide dive onto the FBI on the outside, goes for the chain one more time, hilariously throwing Nunzio off the top of it, goes to grab it, only for Vince to push him onto the top rope, coming out of nowhere underneath the ring. Lesnar then is given the chain, whacks Taker with it, and covers him for the win at 24 minutes and 14 seconds. Now, the match started off slow, but it built nicely over the length to really make it much more of an entertaining contest than it actually rightfully should have been. Even though it proved a little too long, the way they built itself up marginalised how it came across to the viewer. And sure, it lacked violence of the previous encounters, but it still had that hard-hitting aesthetic that makes these two fighting such an enjoyable thing to watch, with back and forth momentum allowing for smooth transitions of offense and a variety of moves to be used. Overall, this match had a lot going for it, and it proved to be a lot better than I ever remember it being, which is a very good thing. It proved to be very exciting. And you know what? I'll be more than happy to give this match 2¼ stars. It's a lot better than I ever thought it ever could be, and I'm very satisfied that this main event delivered. Now, onto my final thoughts. No Mercy 2003, as an event, had a lot going for it, because the card, on paper, looked like it was going to deliver. And while some of it didn't, it did in many other ways, with the big marquee matches selling this event and holding it up surprisingly well, being bookended by a good opener and a good main event. The middle of the card did have some really low bits, which didn't fit at all, but of course they were sandwiched by some great matches. And overall, some of those matches didn't deliver, with some proving that they delivered not on every expectation I wanted from them, and in some cases needed more time to fulfill their potential. And overall, it felt that the matches on this card, while okay to good, didn't go any further than that. They did the basic things they needed to do to be entertaining, but they didn't do enough to make them become stellar, brilliant matches in my eyes. And it felt like this entire pay-per-view was just holding back going forward to the big event of Survivor Series the next month. Overall, I was a little disappointed, but at the end of the day, I was entertained enough, which should be the right thing after all, and it was definitely helped with Michael Cole and Taz's commentary, which was consistently engaging with great anecdotes, and they gave off a lot more emotion than I was expecting. And it showed that, once again, how good they are as a duo and how they'd grown since they started really grouping together in 2001. And, you know, it made me think, you know, this pay-per-view wasn't all I expected it to be, but it delivered enough, which is satisfactory enough to warrant a 5 out of 10. It's a halfway house pay-per-view with a lot of decent things, but not enough of them to warrant any higher. So there we go, guys. 5 out of 10. No Mercy 2003 has been reviewed. NJ, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope all of you watching have been enjoying this too. What are your thoughts on the event? Go put your views in the comment section down below. If you want to keep in touch with me via social media with Facebook, Twitter and Tumblr links, all down in the description box. And if you like what you've seen, give this video a like and give a subscribe, because the CC Network appreciates all of your support, and I've recently just hit 400 subscribers, so that's even better. If you want to add to the count, keep on going. And if you want to see some other stuff, including some Friendship is Magic content, some video game related countdowns, and many other things that are coming to this channel over the coming months, go ahead and click that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. I've been Freddie Thomas, you've been people listening, this has been the Friday Flashback video of No Mercy 2003, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers!